For those of you, all of us know Ron. For those of you who don't know Ron, he has made his impact on our club in many ways. How many people have a Ron Payne coax cable connectors? Everybody in this room probably has one. So Ron is well known for this. What some people may not know is that Ron's connectors are also flying in a couple of the satellites that are orbiting the Earth. So Ron is 5 satellites. Yeah, Ron is a national known expert in building cables and connectors. So we're really, really lucky to have him in our club. So, and he's also an expert in field expedient antenna design and operation of all kinds. Not just VHF, UHF, which he'll talk about tonight, but also HF. So he has many, many decades, probably 50 years of experience in operational use of antennas of various kinds in various places all around the world. So with that, I will turn it over to Ron, and I'll let you do the introduction you want to do.
Okay.
I've shorted you. Your career is storied, and your book will come out sometime.
Yeah, sometime soon. Yeah. Geez, thanks for this remote. Everybody can hear me, or is that too loud? It's great. Oh, good to hear. Good to hear. Okay, I gave this briefing quite a while ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago. But good to see so many people in here tonight. This is fantastic. I have been licensed since 1962. I grew up in Livermore, California. My dad worked for Lawrence Livermore, and that's why I couldn't. So I got my amateur extra. I know most of you are 4-year degree people, engineers, things like that. I only have an associate's, have first class FCC license, many years. I was a radioman first class SS in the submarine service from 1966 to 1970. And I rode the USS Halibut on a famous patrol that is mentioned in a couple of books. And I then transferred over to USS Plunger, another fast attack sub. Guys, in those days, we were copying Morse. The broadcast came over at 50 words a minute. We slowed it down to 25 and then poked the Morse 5-letter code groups into a KLB-47. And then it was decrypted, came out at tape. So we were real radiomen in those days. That was VLF. We were copying kilohertz, 17 kilohertz. Then I joined the Foreign Service, and I went over to Thailand on my first tour. I was a high-speed Morse code operator for Air America, and I could not ham in Thailand. No matter what I did, they wouldn't let me get a license in Thailand, the Thai government. Next tour was the Philippines, and I was one of the first 5 Americans on since World War II. Got WA6YOU port DU2. They wouldn't give me my own DU call sign. Then I volunteered for hardship. I went to Beirut, Lebanon, took 6 months to get a license, and I got OD5MX, and that's good for life. If I go back to Lebanon today, I can ham again, if you will. Then I went to New Delhi, India for 4 years, 81 to 85. Took 6 months to get a license there. 27 signatures. They run like a top secret clearance on you, but I got on. And guys, here's the nice part. 1.2 billion people, 14,000 hams, 2 on CW, me and another American. So I won every all-Asian DX contest. Come over to the house. I have all the certificates up. Did a DXpedition in 1982 to Kathmandu, honoring the King of Nepal's 38th birthday. And we were on for 2 weeks. Guys, you want to be real popular at home? The DXpedition, I left December 24th, and I came back January 2nd. You want to be real popular at home, miss Christmas and New Year's. That's how important ham radio is to me. I went to Frankfurt, got DA1 PA. I never transmitted one single time. Had no time, I was always in Africa. London, England, I kept a license at my wife's uncle's house in Hampstead. Again, I was never on the air very much from England. I did a DXpedition to Gaborone, Botswana in 1988. I was on the air for 6 weeks, had a lot of fun out in the Kalahari Desert. And then during Black Hawk Down, I was in Mogadishu, Somalia as T5YOU. So that was, I made a lot of contacts. I've got 8 DXCCs, so I love DX. especially being on the other side. Okay, guys, why we're here to do some antenna talk. First thing I want to talk about today is this thing that you all have on your belt, this kludge, this compromise, and that's exactly what a handheld radio is. Small, lightweight. You ever notice the battery's always dead? I remember we used to issue these overseas to people in the embassy for their backup. They never kept them charged, or they kept it in the charger 24/7 and it zapped the batteries. Guys, this is not an antenna. We're going to use it as an antenna, but it's not really an antenna. It's called a linear loaded helical resonator. This antenna, it's a rubber-duckie. It's just a big coil. This is what your radio really wants. Wants a 2 meter, 19-inch whip. That's what it really wants. So I've gone from minus 10 dB to just about 0 dB there. And if you don't believe it, try this sometime, a difference between hitting the repeater with a ducky and this. It's day and night. We call the rubber duck antenna, by the way, in the business, we call it a dummy load on a stick. Another thing I see people do is put a microphone on, and they'll wear this on their belt, and the antenna touching your body. We've done tests in the anechoic chamber where you can lose 20, 25, 30 dB that way. See police operating this way a lot. So if you want to reach out and touch someone, keep it in the free there. Batteries. I like myself, most of my radios, and I don't have any of those Baofangs or Woshins. I have Yaesu and ICOM. This is an old ICOM. This is about 10 years old, and it uses good old AA's, and that's what I like. Now, we'll probably have another class down the road for the Tiger Tail. I know some of you are using Tiger Tails, right, on your... Okay, let's do something really cool here. I have a Tiger Tail that I bought in Canada. Thank you, Sean. So, this is a Canadian, and it's Velcro, and here we go. So you guys see I went from minus 16 dB to a half-wave dipole for 2 meters. And let's just say I'm up on Skyline Drive and I want to talk to Lee back down in Fairfax City. You can bet I'm going to do it this way. This works great. And I think it's really cool. Let's see if you can see. This is called Rat Tail. Rat Tail Antenna Booster, Victoria, British Columbia. And the rat has a little eye with an LED, and it tells you the hot spot, where to put it. Guys, why do I put the weight on here? Any idea? Keep it straight, man. Antennas don't like to be bent back on themselves. They like to be straight. So there you go. So let's go back to minus 16 dB. There we go. Okay. All right. So we'll probably have a class later. I think we did them at Mike's house at one time, a couple years back. We built some Tiger Tails. They really do work out nice. Okay. Mobile antennas. I got a real cheap one here for 2 meters. And we have the 19-inch. And everybody asks, where's the other 19 inches? Where's the ground plane on that? Well, it's your car. This is magnet. Here's a nice part about this one. Teflon. Won't scratch my Mustang. Okay? Won't scratch. I've seen some that are really atrocious. You'll put them on your roof and you'll have people moving them around. And sand during the winter, we have sand here. We have salt, gets under here, bad scene, man. So, real cheap. These are like 20 bucks. I've also used these inside. I don't know, some of you might have used these inside. Put them on a pizza pan for the ground plane. Works great. Everybody says, wait, pizza pan's aluminum. Doesn't stick. Well, it's still a ground plane. Still works. Because the magnet isn't just a magnet, it's a capacitor. All right. The coax cable, excuse me, the coax cable should be RG58C for a mobile antenna. C, not RG58A, not RG58B, not RG58. You want the C because it has 19 strands in the center and it's very flexible, okay? Or if you want to just run the small stuff that it comes with, this is RG174. 10 feet of this at 145 megahertz, you lose 1 dB. Big deal. And it always comes with a connector you don't need, so a lot of you guys have Baofengs. Come on over and I'll put you on an SMA. I'll put any connector you want on your mobile antenna. I've had a lot of people come over and do that. So today, guys, we're going to build a 70 centimeter ground plane, just like this one. Field expedient. We're going to use an SO239 connector. What are they, $1.50? Made of brass, coated with sterling silver, which makes them real easy to solder. And you're going to see how nice the solder flows. Every so often I get a student in my class, I'm still teaching. When you get the big mouth student that knows it all, guess what connector I give him? The one made out of stainless steel. Here you go, Bill, solder that one. He's got his iron up to 1200 degrees and it still won't solder. So we have ways of getting even. So I have a handout for everybody. And it just goes to show you how easy this is to calculate and make on the spot. Please remember that a quarter wave that you've been taught is we use 468, right? We've used 468 divided by frequency in megahertz for well over 100 years. Half of 468, well, 234, but that's in feet. So we want to multiply that times 12, and please remember for the rest of your life, 2808. What's a quarter wave at VHF? Oh, 2808 over frequency in megahertz, 2808. And your radials, don't ask me why, your radials are always 10% longer. Somebody says, why? And I says, because some engineer told me. Okay? What's that? Oh. All right, guys, everybody have their handout. The target frequency today is 446 megahertz. For those of you who have a calculator, it's just as easy as doing 2808 over 446, and you're going to come out with 6 1/3 inches. And your radials are going to be 6.99999, and who cares? Make it 7. And we go from there. So, any questions so far? Now, you guys that are going to go over to Dean's house on the 17th, I think, and build a 2 meter, it's the same handout. Same handout. Just use 2808 divided by 146,685 if you want to make it exactly for the repeater. But that's how easy it is. So, any questions so far?
Are adding more radials, would that help? Or
I found that I've done it with 2, I've done it with 16, I've done it with, like the top of the car. 4 is great, but I'm glad you mentioned that, because one thing this antenna likes is, symmetry. Do you all see 4 90-degree angles here? It just seems like it likes symmetry. Also, the angle. I have students bring them up when they're 45 degrees, 50 degrees. This is 30. Perfect. But there's going to be 2 things we do once we build it. We're going to be checking the angle for minimum viswar, and we're going to be chopping only the radiator. We're not going to be chopping the radials at all. Just the radiator, okay? All right, I'm just putting that in there. Now, okay, moving on. I'm going to show you something now because I had a bunch of people coming up here asking me, hey, Ron, how'd you get that? How'd you get everything so straight? How'd you get that copper so hard? That's a great trick. And I always, when I show people, they really can't believe it. Now, I use straight razor blades. I got one for you. This really happened in my class. Mr. Payne, my razor blade doesn't cut. Sparky, you have to take the cardboard off first, okay? 4 years in Stanford means nothing, okay? What we're going to do first is just take, this is bus wire, solid, number 12, okay? And we're going to strip it. And I always make this look too easy. Okay. You can do a wire stripper if you want, I don't care. Just try not to ding the copper.
Or cut your finger.
See my gloves? Funny you mention that, Don, because I have lots of stitches for the past 40 years of teaching. Okay, now, I could hire Gene here to sit here all evening and do this. Get it straight. But what I'm going to show you now is why you came tonight. We're going to put it in a drill motor. And my good friend Ross is the only one in here with safety glasses on, so I'm going to... Ross, if you would hold this, put the copper in there. Doesn't matter. There you go. And I want you to pull. And what we're going to do here, guys, we're going to spin the copper until it gets hot, meaning we're changing the molecular structure, the crystalline structure. And then the only way to get it back to being a limp wire again is to take it to half the melting temperature of copper. Okay, we ready? Whoops, let's put it in drill till it gets hot. I'll stop. And I will pass that around. You ain't never seen nothing like that. So when you're doing this, make sure that you don't just make, I got 6 1/3 inches up there, right on the diagram. Don't cut 6 1/3, 7 and 7. Cut them all 8 inches if you're making one for 440. And you guys on the 17th, take 20, 22 inches for each. You're going to have to spin a couple times. Okay? Well, I've already spun these, so I could pass that around to you guys. And the next thing we want to do, and you can't believe how fast copper oxidizes. Now normally I use Scotch-Brite, but I had this little sandpaper here tonight, so we'll take that one. There's one. Two. Okay, 4 and 5. Excellent. Okay, next. Butane. I can solder in the bush, the jungle, the forest, or in a cafeteria. That's the mating call of a weller. And we're going to fire this sucker up to about right around 1,000 degrees. And I can feel, let me just show you, there's a little hole right here where the heat comes out. And if you're in the desert, you can't see the brightness of the holes here, so you just put it up here and make sure there's heat coming out.
You don't lick it?
No, you don't do that. No. But we sure do get the burns in the class, I'll tell you. And another thing, oh yeah, I need a wastebasket because I don't want to flick. I was taking a class 1979 at NASA in Florida, in Texas, and I did this. Out! I got thrown out of class. He said, come back tomorrow when you're not going to do that anymore. Thou shalt not flick. Look how hot that is, guys. Now, you see the smoke? I have, which I'm not going to use tonight. This is Hakko. This is a Hakko FA400 solder smoke sucker. It's a charcoal filter. And since I work in government laboratory, I have to have this in front of my desk to suck up the smoke. So the first thing we're going to do, we want to mount the Okay, you can show that, Jasek. I have a third hand. Does everybody have a third hand at home? With clips? I have some real good ones. Okay, what we're going to do is just solder the center conductor. And since I brought it, might as well use it. Flux. And I use RMA 186 made by Kester. RMA, does everybody know what flux is? Flux is the squeezings from a pine tree. Pliny the Elder, 300 BC. It's in history. They've been using flux and solder since then. This is great. Now, could I solder without it? Yeah, I probably could, but I brought it. So I'm just going to put a little droplet of flux in there. And then, JC, can I sit down and do this? All right. Wet sponge. Clean my iron. Still hot. And we're just going to solder a little bit here. There we go. Notice? Not too much, right? There we go. Ah, beautiful. So there's my radiator. Now we got to put on 4 radials. Okay.
Question occurs.
Please.
Any reason not to take a pie pan of just the right diameter and bolt the connector into it as radials?
Go ahead. You want to bolt them in? Yeah, but I might be putting this outside, Don, and the bolts might rust and then cause all kinds of trouble. And besides, Don, I'm in a real hurry here. I'm overseas.
And there's bullets flying overhead.
Somalia, I did this in Mogadishu, and the boss, shall we say, says, I want it done now. I want it done yesterday. Now, guys, Jasek, I don't know if you can see this, but I want to put a little small hook in each one of these, and I'll walk this around. Just a real small little hook. There. No. You see what I'm going to be doing? Just enough to set it in there. I'll walk it over. Just a little hook. And I use little long nose. Okay? Yo.
What kind of solder are you using?
Oh, that's another briefing. I use 6337 Kester. Lead, thank you. None of you in here should be using lead-free. None of you. Don't get me started. It's just a matter of time in one of my government classes where somebody's going to walk through the door and say, Mr. Payne, give us all your lead solder. You're going to be using lead-free from here on. We're the only country left in the world using lead solder. And I hoarded it, Kevin. I've got rolls and rolls of 6337. Now for the satellite cables that I put the pin on, I use 6236, 2% silver. It's called silver bearing solder. Nice.
Does it have lead too?
Oh yeah, 6330, 6236. Good flow. It's silver looking. It's strong. And it doesn't create dendrites after many years. Dendrites that grow out of the connection and then short into others.
Good old tin whiskers.
Tin whiskers. Yes, the proper name is dendrites. Yeah, Kevin and I will give you an entire briefing on solder someday. Right, Kev? We can do that. So guys, I'm bending all my radials. There we go. All done. Now, I'm going to place it here. Let's get that out of the way. Put one here. How's that, guys? Make it look too easy? I'm supposed to. Okay, little flux. Little flux here. All right.
Ron, when you're making coax connectors, do you use that butane torch?
No, never. I use no, I use, not Unger, but, yeah, forget the brand I use, but I've had it for many years. Oh, yes. Okay. I guess it just wanted to sit there for a while. We're soldering now. Okay, guys, we're all soldered. Yeah. Whew. And since we don't want to be here till midnight, okay, good. There we go. Now, Want to do some cutting, some initial cuts. So. Gene, I hope that isn't hot. It's warm? Okay. 7 inches. Each radial. 7 inches.
Are you measuring from the center?
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm measuring from the end. From the point of the SO. Look here. Look. From the point of the SO. Notice I put them in my pocket. Yes. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, one more. So all the radials are 7 inches. And you notice I didn't even do that really. And now the top one is 6 1/3, so let's just start at, will you hold that? Okay, 6 1/3, right about there. Okay. Now, mathematically, that's a 70 centimeter antenna tuned for 446.0000. Okay. Now we can do the tuning. Final setup. You all have a Visuar meter? You all have a nice one? I think I love my Comet. Oh man. Beauty. So I'll take this one off. Put this one on. Most of the students, we don't get many RFers anymore. Most students say, fits too tight. Geez, I hope so. It's RF. I hope it fits tight. Okay. Now I know there's somebody out there saying, I'll bet he forgot the adapter. Okay, here we go. Okay, now let me see. Oh, it was worth having a hard time soldering. JASIC 1.000 to 150.00 ohms. I don't have to do any trimming, but if I did, I would do this, and I would leave these alone, and that angle, about 30 degrees, I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to do anything. Oh, yeah, you want to see? Let's see. Okay, let's do. Let's just, a lot of students bring them up like that. 1.5 to 1. Okay, 1.5 to 1. Yo, Mike.
They reel straight out,
Straight out, aye.
and the reason for that is you see a lot of comets with them out straight.
Okay. Straight out, he says. Ready? Here we go. Now let's hope it doesn't snap. Who was? Yes. That's why I brought 2 antennas. Okay, straight out. 1.3 to 1. Okay, so let's go back to our magic 30, and we still haven't broken anything. Boy, that's good.
Wait, 30 from which axis?
30 down. Okay? Jeez. 445.13. Okay, that's close enough, don't you think? Guys, now we want to judge the antenna today by our 2 to 1 points, right? So let's see if I can even get to a 2 to 1 point. Okay. 482. And then I'm off the scale here. Let's go to another band. Okay, guys, this antenna covers 414, call it 415 to 482, your entire 70 centimeter band. Okay? There you go. So let's go back, put it on our magic frequency, 446. Everybody know 446 is the international calling frequency for 70 centimeters. It's one of the ones that I monitor at home. But boy, I'll take that any day. 1.0050 ohms. And that's all I got. Guys, any questions on anything we did here? Now you want to make it really sexy. You can put some heat shrink on the ends. I got green on here and red here. And I will pass this around because I want to show you the really nice solder, how I had that flow like $1,000,000. Just flowed. Don't buy, make sure you buy sterling silver. Don't buy stainless steel. Okay, let's see, next. I had to build 4 of these. I was working with the 10th Mountain Division. I had to build 4 of these in Mogadishu for a net back in 1993. That would have been August of 1993. Jesus, almost 30 years ago. And we built 4 of these. Put them out, and they all worked like $1,000,000 around the city of Mogadishu. And this is something I've been doing since high school. And I remember I got a nice gold medal, and I got a cash award for $5,000 for that. So it was really worth it. Guys, another briefing. What we're going to do down the road. Okay, here's work hardening. Copper melts at 1522, so if you heat this copper up to 761 degrees, it's probably going to go soft on you again. Good. But it's called, remember guys, it's called work hardening. It's not called tempering. You can't temper copper. You can temper steel, but not copper. Okay. Little bit on this meter. I really recommend this meter. I love it. I know it's really expensive, but it's the simplest one to use. It takes 0 dBm, 1 milliwatt, shoves it into your antenna and reads what comes back. I believe it's, about $450. This was my Christmas present about 5 years ago. But just don't let anybody hook up a transmitter and transmit into the thing. Yeah. You think that's happened in my class? Yeah, sure. Sure it has. So coming up, if you'd like, we can do a 4-element Yagi standing right here. And we're going to mount it on foam board, the kind you use, to make your kids' science project. One of those foam boards. And we're going to use copper tape. We'll stick them on it. We'll feed it with RG58 this long. And I got to show you how to make the quarter wave shorting stub. This is 0 gain, 5 watts in, 5 watts out, right? This is 6 dB, man. 10 watts in, 40 watts out. And it's an outstanding design. And I've made this for 140 megs all the way up to 1 gig. It pretty much stops, this design stops at 1 gig. I use half-inch tape. But you can build it on cardboard, plywood, plexiglass, foam board. It's really a cool design. And then those of you that were out the park a couple of weeks ago saw that I had one of these. I know Mike Magnotti has one. The Home Depot special, where you take good old measuring tape and make a Yagi. And this thing really is one of the best RDF antennas that I've ever used for 2 meters. It's a great antenna. And it's very simple to match because you just make a beta match with copper, with the copper wire, 5 inches of copper. Very easy to do. It's all PVC, and I even got sexy here and made a 8-turn current balun. I had it out at the park when we were out there. Okay, I have some U-tubes out there. This one that's a couple years old has 72,000 hits now on Morse code keys. I'm really impressed. The antenna analyzer that I taught with George, that's got a lot of hits too. That's a really, that's a good presentation.
All right, is that it? Ron, thank
That's
you,
it,
Ron.
Mike.
Everybody,
Thank you.
yeah, please give him a. That was incredible. Thank you very much. And don't forget, if you want to build one of these things, 17 September at Dean's house, KK4DAS. I think he's just sort of doing it as a walk-in. You know, you can give him a call and sign up for a time and put one of these things together for 2 meters or 70 centimeters. You have your choice.
Now guys, basically I'm just going to walk around and go and solder all 4. You're not going to believe this. Now this one's out. Always bring 2 to a demonstration. Always. I got one more. That's why you bring 3 irons to a demo, Don. There you go. Okay. But you can't panic. If not, I got a backup antenna. So